Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to go over transmission shift quality issues you may be experiencing on your late model Ford vehicle. Now, starting in 2006 with the 6R60 transmission, Ford came out with highly adaptable or fully adaptable transmission shift calibrations. Therefore, they're highly adaptable and they learn based on the driver's input and driving style. So one person can get in the vehicle, they're nice and hard on it, it's going to increase the line pressure to anticipate those throttle inputs, and then the next person gets in it and they're nice and soft on the throttle, and it's still shifting based on that first driver that it learned off of with the hard driving that it did on the vehicle. Therefore, you can have a lot of transmission shift quality issues just based on the adaptive learning that the transmission module has actually done. Okay, and this started with the 6R60 in 2006, the 6R80, the 6F35, the 6F50, the 6F55, the 6F15 that's coming out. They're all highly adaptable to the driving style, so therefore it can learn, let's say, bad habits based off of that information and cause harsh shifts, especially in a 3-4 shift, upshift or downshift, that you can misconstrue for an internal transmission issue. Okay, so there's a few steps you need to go through whenever you figure there's a transmission shift quality issue before you just start pulling it apart and changing components out on there. Now, the very first thing you want to do is make sure your fluid level is okay. Make sure it's full, it's not burnt, all that good stuff. And the very next thing you want to do, because the Ford engineers are always fine-tuning the software, is you want to make sure you have the latest PCM and or TCM calibration update depending on your vehicle. Now, once the transmission calibration has been updated, you want to go for a drive and see if the concern is now gone. If the concern is still there, the very next thing you want to do is go in and clear the adaptive learning tables so you can start out fresh and learn the new driver's input on there. According to the Ford engineers, if you have a concern, we have a shift quality concern, and then you go in, you clear these adaptive tables, and then all of a sudden the transmission concern is gone, completely gone, it's based on the driver input and the calibration built into the TCM. No repairs are required. So what you may be thinking is, no big deal, every once in a while I'll just go under the hood, I'll pull the negative battery cable, and I'll just clear it every once in a while to improve the shifting of my vehicle. It's kind of like maintenance on these newer vehicles with them being extra sensitive. Not so with these. The actual adaptive learning is stored in what they call non-volatile RAM. And this non-volatile RAM cannot be cleared with a simple battery disconnect or even shorting the capacitors on there. You need to go into the scan tool and clear it manually every time you want this adaptive table to be cleared and wiped fresh. So real quick, I'll go in and I'll show you exactly what it looks like on the scan tool. Now, the Ford scan tool can do this, and of course some of the high-end scan tools used in the independent shops can also be used to do this, and you want to do this before you ever go into the transmission for any kind of concern. Okay, here's the Ford IDS software, and this is for a 2009 Ford Escape. So on these models, you go into the powertrain and transmission service menu to clear it. On the newer vehicles that have separate TCMs, you want to go into the reset cam option and reset the TCM. It'll show up right about here. So I'll show you how it looks on here on the older vehicles. You go into transmission. This is the service menu inside of the IDS software for the transmission. So you can see we can do a lot of different little tests here. But the one option on here we're looking for is to clear the adaptive tables. You want to clear them, start out fresh, and learn from there. So we're good to go at that point. We can go over and start the vehicle and start learning the shift points properly. Now, there are a few best practices for relearning the shift points after the adaptive tables have been cleared. The very first thing you want to do afterwards is turn the key off. Allow the TCM or PCM to power down. Then we're going to go in and we're going to put the key back in, put it into the run position, and wait 5 to 10 seconds. Then we can go ahead and start the vehicle. Okay, we're going to let the idle stabilize, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put it into gear. Okay, and put it in the drive and just sit there for a second. Let it learn the initial clutch calibration on there. At this point, we can go for our drive. Now, initially, it's going to learn the big initial adjustments on the transmission while it's cold, even into the hot. It's going to learn the initial adjustment. And then it's going to do a fine adjustment once the vehicle starts reaching around 180 degrees, the transmission on there. And it'll always do fine touches to the calibration from that point on. So at first you want to do light throttle until the transmission heats up, and then you can use light to medium throttle to finish the learning process. And the way that looks on here is you're just going for a drive, you take off, like I said, light throttle, and you're going to let it roll through the gears, okay? Both upshifts and downshifts, and you want to achieve, you know, 5th, 6th gear all the way to the top gear so that it can actually learn each one of them every time you're going through the shifts. And you may notice, like right there, was an extra long, harsh shift, and that's because it's learning that particular clutch pack on there. So you just want to go along, medium throttle, let it learn, okay? We're going to go through, and the same thing. This is very important. This is key, especially in a 6R60 transmissions, is to learn the downshifts. You don't want to have downshift harshness either. So it's very important. Slow down, take a nice long slow down to a stop sign, nice gradual slow down, and let it go through all the gears as it downshifts to a stop sign. Okay, it's very, very important. And you just keep going through that a couple times until you feel the shift points tighten up and it feels normal. At that point, you want to drive it like usual until about 180 degrees or hotter, and then it'll start doing the fine touches to the calibration on there. And that's the way you really truly learn the shift points on there properly. Anyways, long enough video as it is. I just want to let you guys know before you start bringing it to a shop for concerns, thinking it's internal and you're going to spend a bunch of money. Some shops are out there to get you. I do know that, especially with transmissions. A lot of people don't know a lot about them. You want to go through this process first and foremost. If none of this works and that concern is still there, then you need to go into the transmission and look for internal hard part concern.